training in Idaho Falls in October of 2012, and I got to hear Regina and Jayson and Scotty all for the first time. And their passion really was one of my big aha moments in coaching and made me believe that I could be successful at this. And so I'm so honored to have them both on the call today. Married couples that work this business together, no matter how they work it, if one of them is an active coach and one of them is in the background, they're still working the business. And these two individuals these couples magnify each other's strengths, and they've come up with a successful system that works for their families, and they have never sacrificed the most important things, and those are their family, their hearts, or their dignity in this business, and it comes across in their posts. And I have gotten to follow Gabby a little bit, and I started following Jayson, and I follow Scotty and Brigida, and I really respect them and their families and how they've put this business together. They always put their family first, and they have figured out a way to thrive in Beachbody and be very successful and very happy. And so I am very honored to have them on this call, and they have also said that they will do question and answer at the end, and so I'm so excited about that you guys will get an opportunity to ask them some questions and pick their brains. But without further ado, I would love to just hand the floor over to Jayson, and he is just going to tell you how him and Brigida have really made this business work for them and their family.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't need to introduce myself. Chelsea did a good job of that. I want to just start off. I'm going to kind of tell you guys an abbreviated version of my story. I don't know if you've heard Brigida tell our story or what, but we're still giving an abbreviated version of my story. It's going to be really abridged, and then I'm going to get into some of the things that we've done and what's worked for us. But I just want to start off by, at the beginning of my experience with Beachbody, my wife and I had both been drinking Shakeology, and I became a believer about 2 days actually after we ran out the first time. I guess sometimes you don't really know what you have until it's gone, right? So that was the point that everything changed for our family. I just wanted to keep drinking Shakeology because, in the 2 weeks that I'd been taking it, I had lost a little bit of weight without even having to work out. And not that I wasn't a believer in the programs, because we had P90X and some of the other Beachbody programs. I knew what they were. And so I understood what Shakeology was and wanted to keep taking it, but my wife had a little bit different game plan in mind. You see, I've been an entrepreneur at heart my entire life. I tasted when I was young. At 14, I built a landscaping company where we did retaining walls for myself, and I made a lot more money than any other kid that age was making. And since then, I've owned several businesses. I knew what it felt like to have freedom and to be compensated according to my value and not what somebody else felt that I was worth. And the feeling and I love the feeling that you get when you can say, I did that. But then everything kind of came to a halt. In 2009, I had a catastrophic business failure that caused us to lose all that we had, filing bankruptcy, and we kind of hit at least the financial rock bottom. With all that I've been through and all that we had gone through in that time, I decided to take a job, to take a step back, and to be able to gain my composure and breathe again. And the job that I took, it covered our bills, but it didn't afford us the security of a savings account. It didn't give us the opportunity to take trips, to make memories with my family, or just time off to go to the school performances for my kids. I was living a life that I thought I never would. The longer that I had the job, the harder it was for me to see a way out. I got complacent. The money we had was enough. It was good enough for what we needed at the time. And to be honest, I got to the point where I could not see a way that we were going to be able to live the life that I'd always dreamed of. So after having that job for 4 years and other several second jobs along the way, when Brigitte came to me and wanted to coach, my first reaction was to encourage her. I encouraged her for a couple of reasons. I knew the good that was inside her, and that this was a way for her to not only help others, but most importantly for her to feel the way that I had felt before. She deserved to know how it feels to be compensated for the difference that you make in other people's lives. But I am also from Utah. And if those of you who don't know, Utah is the MLM capital of the world. So I wanted to do my research to see if this thing was going to work the way I knew that it needed to if she was going to be successful. And so here's what I found. First off, MLMs in general, but especially in Utah, they have this icky factor to them. And people hear MLM and they have all the worst things in their mind, and they usually go running the other way. And here's a few reasons why they get the icky factor. One is they have a high entry cost. And the reason they have a high entry cost is so that the uplines can get paid their bonuses for signing people up. The reason why this isn't good is because it incentivizes people for the sale and the sign-up, and not the development of successful people. Most MLM business models are based on the money first, the business opportunity first, and the product is usually an afterthought. This is the reason they make it mandatory to buy a certain amount of product each month, and even as a customer, you have to buy a certain amount each month. The products do not stand on their own. So these are the kinds of things I was looking for as I was looking at Beachbody and seeing if this was something that I was going to support my wife in and sacrifice for. And I remember actually going down the summit. We joined in the end of April or beginning of May of 2012 when we went to Summit that first year in June. I remember giving my wife the warning of, Summit's going to be a lot of people up on stage, a lot of hype, a lot of people on stage showing their big checks and how much money they're making, because I'd been a part of other MLMs, and that's what they had done in the past. So one key thing for me was being able to go to Summit with my wife and watching the things that they recognized on stage. It was not these people making all this money and big checks waving around. They were rewarding people for changing their lives, for losing weight, for doing things that were remarkable in their own lives. And it definitely hurt my ears as to what this business is all about. Beachbody is a customer-first business. Shakeology and other supplements in the workout program, with Shakeology and other the workout programs, you can buy as a customer. You can even be a coach and not have to buy something every month. The fact that Beachbody gives the bottom of the bag guarantee is proof enough to stand behind the product. So I was convinced at that point that this was a different MLM. But when your wife comes to you and tells you that she's going to start running these free challenge groups and then working crazy hours and only making a couple $100 a month, you really need to know a couple of things. One thing to note is that because of the Beachbody pay structure, the growth that is seen in Beachbody is not a quick, rich opportunity. It's slow growth, at least by MLM standards. But this was another thing that told me what a great opportunity this is. It runs just like any other real-world business. Steady growth is a good thing, and is not as prone to the big spikes you see from the inflated bonuses and other promotions that are ran for signing people up and all this other kind of stuff. But on the flip side, it's also not prone to the dropping your income. You're not dependent upon one sell to one commission. And with that, you can also have a pretty good idea of what to expect. So consistent. I say slow growth, but Brigitte and I have built over a six-figure income in 2 years, and it continues to grow and grow. These points are important to know because it tells you something. This is a good company based on good principles with leaders with the hearts in the right places. So this coaching opportunity is a very special one. The difference I was able to see in my life in just the first 6 months before any monetary gain was significant and was worth the money and time sacrificed 10 times over. You see, this is where Beachbody is different than not just other MLM companies, but they are different than most other companies out there. They believe in making people better. And this is the reason why following the 3 vital behaviors is so essential, because it makes better people. Not just better people, better salespeople or better coaches, it makes better people. Personal development is one of the 3 vital behaviors, and it gives people the keys to turn the locks on their life. Yes, this will help with the Beachbody, but I will tell you that being healthy, improving yourself through personal development, and then inviting others to the same, leaves you with a pretty fulfilled life. This is what we were able to experience in the first month of this business. As I was able to see it and pay attention and be a part of it, being in one of Brigitta's challenge groups, I saw the writing on the wall. This was life-changing. It was special. There's no other way to describe it. So if you're one of those that are wondering if your spouse has gotten into one of these crazy pyramid schemes, or if you won't take my word for it, then just go do your research, and you'll see what it is and what it's about. But if you are okay with it, but not really wanting to have much to do with it because you already have a great job, or if you're willing to help, here's what has actually worked for us. But before I go on, actually, I want to just, for those of you who already have a great job and it's good enough, and you feel like you have what you need, here are some questions to consider. The ones I considered when we were looking at this. Do you live where you want to live? Could you make more money? If you could make more money, would you? Can you take off next Friday to see your kid's soccer game? If money was not an issue, would there be anything that you did different? One of the things that Brigitte and I were able to do is be able to, this last month, pull out a map and pick 10 places and decide where we wanted to go, because we could. We didn't have the restriction of income. We didn't have the restriction of asking, having to be relocated. We could just pick and go and live the lives that we wanted to live. And that was one of the things that was our dreams that we talked about. We'll talk about, and then I want to talk about a little later. But one of the things that I've learned along the way is that communication is key. Zig Ziglar said that many marriages would be a lot better off if the husband and wife clearly understood that they were on the same side. I hear so much that, of the spouse, husbands a lot of times, that either don't support their wife, or that they're critical, or that they're giving them a certain amount of time to be successful. One of the things that's important to realize, and that you have such a blessing, is to have the support of a spouse, and to have a built-in partner in the business, someone to brainstorm with, partner with, to talk with, and to be able to create ideas with. It's one of the most amazing things that you can experience in general, but especially with your wife and your partner. But one of the most important things is dreaming. It's a must in this business. One of the things that I learned specifically is that your business will only grow in as much as your ability to dream big together. Let me say that again. Your business will only grow as much as your ability for you to be able to dream big together. Together is the biggest word, is the biggest important thing there. If you want to know how to piss your husband off, dream alone, then carry out the task to accomplish the dream alone, and then let him make the sacrifice of the task that it takes to get to your dream. Dreaming together is so important. Money was was not an issue, what could you do? Make sure you have a conversation about what your dreams look like. But make sure that you dream big. Sometimes this can take some practice, but really stretch together, really reach for what a perfect day would look like. Then, what a perfect month would look like. Then a perfect year. Get rid of all of the status quo of, well, we have a job, or we have this restriction or that restriction. What would it look like if it was perfect for you and your spouse? What would that perfect look like? And then dream it and work towards it. Those dreams, I'm telling you, those dreams will be what dictates your goals. And it will also dictate how deep the resolve is to achieve those goals. People that are successful have the same hardships, the same amounts of no's, the same fears, and the same trials. But what separates those that push through hard times and those that don't is their attachment to their dream, what they've visioned for themselves, what they're working towards. And I can tell you, if you have not sat down with your spouse and done that together, then you will not be on the same page, and you will have discontent and harmony and lack of harmony, and you will have a lot of problems that will arise from not being on the same pages. It has not been all sunshine and rainbows for Gina and I. The first 6 months was hard. But, I mean, I was working 2 jobs. Gina was working Beachbody like a mad woman. Needless to say, it was stressful. There were some fights, a lot of dirty laundry, dirty dishes. Well, you can get the idea. There was a lot that we dealt with. But our dreams were big. They were meaningful. They were real to us, and they were the thing that got us up and pulled us through. The next thing that I want to talk about is define your roles. Roles a husband and a wife have working this business are so important. And it's so important that they're defined to each other and you guys understand each other. If there's one thing, there's a quote by Barbara Bush that I want to say. She said, there was one thing more exasperating than a spouse who can cook and won't. And that's a spouse that can't cook and will. Find what you can do and do well and figure out how or even if it fits. I remember in the beginning I tried to build like Gordita was. We tried to build the business the same way. And it didn't take us very long to figure out that it didn't work for us. So we decided that it was more important for us to have some clean dishes and children that were bathed than to have 2 of us working the business in the same way. On a side note here, this is and still is new territory for us. And so patience is a must. When I started to be the one taking care of more of the roles, the kids, and the house, and all that kind of stuff, I was not perfect. I messed up. Our standards weren't the same. But Brigida had never been in charge of a business before. She never ran anything of that magnitude before. But both situations required patience and empathy, the ability to look at the other person and realize that they're trying, they're doing their best. Remember, you are in this together, working toward your dream. This business has a way of growing and evolving, and when it does, it's a good time to have another discussion about what your roles are, what your dreams are, and what your new goals should be. I can tell you our dreams have changed over and over and over again because of the pace at which this business grows and the vision at which you gain by not only the growth of the business, your income, but also personal development. I would encourage you to communicate your Beachbody goals with your spouses. Things like rank income, but what they mean and why you want them. For a spouse that's not that involved in the business, trying to say you want to be a 10-star doesn't mean anything to him, but it doesn't make it any less important for you to communicate to him what the goal is and why you want it. If you want the bonus that comes with that, if you want the recognition, how does that benefit you? Those are important things to realize for a spouse that might not be building the business. The beauty of this business is that you own your own business without having to do all of the typical small business owner stuff that have to do in a small business. This is a big blessing to not have to deal with overhead, inventory, all accounts receivable, all this stuff is all done. So this gives you the opportunity, whether it be you or your spouse that may not be the one technically building, to learn other things, learn about marketing, learn about taxes, learn how to maybe run the business on Twitter or another social media avenue. There might be something that you get to learn and become better at. There might be certain things that you need to delegate and hire out. And guess what? That's okay. The two of you might not be able to do everything. You might need to delegate out. I remember the first 6 months we were both going crazy, and so we decided to hire out a cleaner that came every other week and did the deep cleaning for us. And I can tell you that relieved a lot of stress, and it was well worth the money that we were paying because of what it did for us. Now that Ford Fitness is growing bigger and our income is growing bigger, things have changed for us several times, and our roles have been redefined, our goals made loftier, and our dreams bigger. In closing, I just want to say that no matter the opportunity or the situation, remember that your spouse, whether it be your husband or your wife, chose to be by your side. You are in each other's corner, and you are a team in the truest sense of the word. As a team, encouraging and inspiring each other, you will accomplish a far greater good than if you ever tried to go the road alone, or worse, if you are each other's worst critic. If there's one thing I have learned these past 2 years in being in Beachbody, is that pride is an insecurity and will get you nowhere. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope that I said something that will help you, and that's all I have.
Jayson, this is Chelsea. Thank you so much. I was like in tears. I had goosebumps. I don't think I've ever taken so many notes. That was amazing. And I know that it's truly, truly, truly going to help so many people on this team. It's exactly what we needed to hear. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to say those things. Is Gabby ready? Gabby, are you ready?
Yep, I'm here.
Great. I will turn the time over to Gabby. Thank you so much for being on the call, Gabby.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So great job, Jayson. I agree with so much that you said. So I'm guessing, at least, I know all of us have had maybe someone who's skeptical, negative against what you guys are doing, maybe afraid for you or nervous and not quite sure about the opportunity here that you guys have. And confession, I was one of those people. Initially, when Scott came to me about wanting to be a coach, obviously I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. Like, do what you want to do. It's not until later, like when he actually started working the business, that I was like, hey, I don't know what I just signed up for, because this is taking a lot of time out of the family and just different activities that we had going on. So just a little bit about us. I kind of want to introduce ourselves just to... for those who don't know us, Scotty and I, we met at Warped Tour and got married a year after we met, lived in Salt Lake for a little bit, and then came down to Idaho Falls, thinking he would get like a really good paying dental job here. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to and had to take a job for $8 an hour. And then we kind of bounced around on jobs. I ended up at a hotel by the time Beachbody came around, and so I was working as a receptionist there. So we were both making $8 an hour, and we bought this new home, and obviously that doesn't really pay the bills. So I had gotten pregnant with our third child at that time, and I was at home without maternity pay. So pretty much $8 an hour and whatever overtime he could get was covering the bills, and it wasn't cutting it. So luckily he found the Beachbody opportunity and jumped in. But like I said, I was okay with his initial sign up, but then afterwards, everything that came with it, I wasn't sure about. So when we signed up, like I said, we didn't have very much money. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cable. We kind of watched what we spent our money on. And so Scott had to go buy things off of Craigslist and then resell them for maybe $10 profits here and there to add up to pay the Shakeology. I mean, when he was like headstrong with the business and wanted to do whatever to be able to bring me home, is what his initial goal was. And so he was willing to do whatever it took, even if it was mowing lawns or buying and selling off Craigslist or whatever it was. So that first little while, anyone who knows this business knows that it could be worked 24/7 and that it feels like maybe the family's being brushed aside, or that it's cutting into activities or different things within the family. But after a little while, I had to step back and kind of like realize that the reason why Scotty was pushing so hard was because of us. I mean, he was doing this so I could come home and to have a better environment. And I mean, later he eventually was dreaming bigger and wanted to bring himself home. So that was like in the back of my mind that all this would be worth it in the end, to be able to spend the time how we wanted and to have the time with the kids. But I always had to keep that in the forefront when I was feeling like bummed out about like giving up my time with them, because my love language is quality time. And real quick, I know that the personal development is like a major, I mean, it is a vital behavior for Beachbody. And I think it's also very important to have your spouse do personal development. Obviously, don't push it on them, like if they don't want to, but maybe mention it and have it playing like during your workouts or while you're cleaning. And obviously, everyone in the house will be listening to it. And it'll impact them whether they tell you it does or doesn't. I know with Scotty, like I wasn't into it at first, and then his example, I was just learning so much. I was like, oh, cool, let's check out some more books. And one that I would highly recommend is The Love Languages, because we all have a different way of showing and receiving love. And we were able to figure out that my love language, like I said, was quality time. And that's why I felt kind of brushed aside, because I wasn't getting my love language. And Scotty's is words of affirmation. So he doesn't really need to spend time. He just needs like those words like, oh, good job, you're doing awesome. And so once we figured that out, that was a great help, like with the marriage and just strengthening the marriage, you know, and kind of understanding each other. So let's see here. What's some other tips? I have these notes and I'm kind of all over the place. So there was a point where, like I said, I was negative about it. And it wasn't until I was at work one day that I actually got on the internet, probably like 4 hours researching Beachbody and seeing if it was legit. And all I could find that was negative about it, like were people's opinions, nothing like factual that would make me want to sway away from having him build the business. So so after that is kind of like, well, between that and then the personal development is both helped tremendously in me being able to stand by his side and just helping him when he had those struggles. I know there was a time, which if you haven't felt it already, you probably will, where it seems tough. Like you don't know if what you're doing is working. Sometimes you don't see the results until a little bit later, but it was one of those moments where he was like bummed out and he's like, I don't know if I should keep going. And sorry, it kind of like takes me back, but luckily I was doing the personal development that at that moment he was like, I don't know if this works. What do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know either. I don't know if it works, but I know that I believe in you, and anything you put your mind to, you'll achieve. And so that was just what he needed at that moment. But had I not been doing the personal development, then maybe I would have said like something else, like you should quit, or you're right, like this doesn't work, you know? But So yeah, that's why I like really push personal development even with the spouses. So I guess going back to were the sacrifices worth it? Absolutely. I mean, like Chelsea mentioned, a year later after Scotty started working, he was able to bring me home, and then 2 months after that, um, he was able to come home, and nothing nothing quite compares to like him being able to be with the kids and experience everything that a stay-at-home moms do, and just the impact he has on the girls and the type of husbands they'll be able to meet once they're at that age, and um having him to compare them to, I know it makes a big difference having his influence in the home. um let's see. So another thing real quick, like Jayson had mentioned, communication is key because um like I said, this business could be worked 24/7. You have to sit down with your spouse. I highly recommend it to kind of evaluate weekly, monthly, whatever works best for you guys, but do it often to kind of express your feelings. Maybe if you're working too much at that evaluation, your husband or wife can say, I don't feel okay with how much time you're spending. Maybe we could cut something else out so we could make more time for Beachbody, or just kind of see where you could eliminate something in order to fit a few more hours of Beachbody. And whether it's, I know for Scotty it was softball. He loves softball, but he had to cut it out because, I mean, doing softball and Beachbody, that's a lot of family time. So he made the choice to cut softball out in order to work the business. And now I guess he could play softball whenever he wants now. Let's see. Let me check my notes here. Sorry, I'm all over the place and I don't know where I'm at. So I know there's going to be a lot of people telling you this doesn't work, and that attributing a lot of negativity towards you. But as a spouse, you need to be you just need to be that rock for them and not contribute to the negativity and pulling them down, because this does work. I mean, we're proof, Brigitte's proof, Lindsay's proof that if you stick to this and do those daily steps, that this does work, and you'll be able to retire not only yourself but your spouse. And honestly, like, even if if your spouse is on the fence, like, they have the potential to even build this business if they wanted to. We all do. We all have these talents that we have within us, and maybe they're scared for you, or maybe they want to protect you. I know that was one of my fears, is like, I didn't want Scotty to jump into this and then maybe be disappointed. So maybe that's what held me back in the beginning, to help him thrive. Luckily I figured that out and was able to just push him in the right direction. But I'm really impressed. There's a few people that I know, like Amy Silverman and Tara Carr, where their spouses were a little skeptical, and I know they've had their, like, made videos and YouTubes with their spouses, and I've seen like them grow. Like, there's not only them grow, but their spouses, like, I know Kevin, Amy's husband, was like really nervous in the beginning, wasn't sure about it, but then I've seen him build the business on his own and do more videos on his own. So she kind of gave him that confidence that she also instills in coaches. Because let's see, if we break the coach opportunity business down, essentially it's just giving people hope, right? So you as coaches figure out what's going on in someone's life and then just instill hope and support them. Luckily, we have the products that help, like the Shakeology and the workouts that make it just a little bit easier for them to do it at home and get results and get to where they want to be, whether it's to look good for their spouse or to just feel better about life or look better and have that confidence that they once had. And And like Jayson said, like, this is a team effort. Like, had Brigida not had him, it would have been so much harder for her to balance her life at home and Beachbody. Like, and maybe neither of them would have been done right, or like at its best potential, you know, just because she would just be juggling so much. So I know Jayson was a great help to her. And let's see. So another real quick thing that maybe I want to have you guys ask before I close out, have you guys ask your spouse that maybe aren't supportive, is because I know I've had a lot of people say that my husband doesn't believe, or my wife doesn't believe in this. So I guess when you're communicating, ask them exactly what they don't believe in, because you have us as prime examples that it is possible. So do they not believe in the opportunity, the community, the workouts? Do they not believe in their spouse or the personal development? Just kind of open up that line of communication, and maybe they'll share what they don't believe in, and you can kind of get to the root of it and just kind of talk everything out. I know I skipped a lot of stuff, but I guess that kind of covers the gist of it. I hope it helps a little bit. But before I get off, I just want to kind of mention somebody that has been an incredible person in my life, amazing husband, father, obviously an amazing coach. He's very intuitive, and being one of the top guys being a top guy in the top 25, like he's the only one in the top 25. He's really good at just not being a creeper, I guess, with the dominated like women industry with Beachbody. You know, that you see so many successful women, and for him to be up there is really impressive. Obviously, he, just to give you some of his, I guess, accolades, is he's been top 10 in 2013, currently top 10 for 2014. He's never missed Success Club 10. He's hit 10 for 39 months in a row, Elite 2012, 2013, and 2014. Your surprise guest for tonight is Scotty Hobbs. So he'll take over here.
Hey, guys. Man, I was sitting here behind Gabby. She was kind of nervous, I'm not going to lie. It was her first call, so I'm glad she got to do that. She made me cry, so I'm glad I recovered from that part. And I just wanted to share a couple things. I know you guys have a lot of inviting to get going to, so I don't want to take up too much time. I was sitting back here listening to Jayson, listening to Gabby, thinking what I could share with you guys that could possibly help you guys move forward as, you know, as a coach and as a spouse of a coach or a partner in this, in Beachbody. And I just want to say, first of all, that you guys have an amazing coach. You guys have an amazing team. She's out there trying her best to connect you guys with stories of people that can help you instill more belief in yourself, that you can relate with. And that's what I hope Gabby and Jayson could do tonight for you guys, is just to give you a base point to relate with in your life or where you guys are at. And I know a huge thing was, you know, me meeting, you know, Gabby and I meeting Lindsay and Billy, you know, just getting to know them in person and hear their stories. We're able to relate with them. So I want you guys to know that we believe in you guys, that the opportunity, you know, I've made tons of videos about, you know, some of the sacrifices that have had to be made, and Jayson hit on that, and so did Gabby. But, you know, even, you know, we've been a coach for almost 3.5 years. And for the spouses that are listening to this and the coaches, you know, it's only been 3.5 years, but even if it would have took me 10 years to gain the relationships with positive people that lift us up, to have freedom to be at home. I've been at home for over 2 years now. I would have done this, you know, if I were to be 10 years in the future and achieved what we've achieved, or even I can honestly say achieve 1/10 of what we've achieved. Just have the ability to have freedom and be around my kids and knowing the impact that'll make. I would have spent 2 hours a night, 3 hours a night for 10 years. 10 years. 3 hours a night, 6 days a week, 5-6 days a week, to have even 1/10 of what we have right now. And I say that because you can't, once you give time away to something, it's gone forever. So, I mean, 10 years from now, I would have been 42 years old. I would have still been at the same job, perhaps even still working 12 hours a day, perhaps even my wife, Gabby, working in the evenings. My kids would be between the ages of 12 and 17, and I would have been at the same place, So even if it took me 10 years to achieve even 1/10 of what we've achieved with Beachbody, well worth it. And what I want you guys to know, the one thing I want to hit on, my message that I want to share with you, I actually got to talk with a couple of my coaches today, my leaders, about this, on the phone. And, we talk about your why. Your why is what's going to drive you in this business. What's going to make you spend 2 hours a night, right? 2 hours a night doing the 3 vital behaviors, inviting people, doing personal development, and sharing with people. What's going to make you do that? And that's what they call your why, correct? It's the thing that drives you, the thing that makes you, like the thing that made me, instead of play video games and go to softball, that made me sit at my laptop and reach out and help people. So the why, it's always going to be needing evolvement. Like, it's going to need to change from time to time. Like, at first it was to bring Gabby home from work, and then it was like I achieved that, and then it was what's going to drive me next. Like, I've already achieved that, so what's going to drive me next? It's like, oh, well, I could be a better father by being home with them all the time. So that's my new why. And so I did that. So we achieved that. And it's like, now what? What's the next why? And so you've got to continually evolve that. So I want you guys to know that that's going to be continually evolving in your life. And if you want to see success in this, there's three levels, I could say, of a job. Like, let's say you work somewhere or you have this business. There's 3 levels. You look at it as a job, you look at it as a career, or you look at it as your calling. A job, a career, and your calling. In a job, you just go there to get your paycheck and you're out. A career, you're looking to advance, maybe become a manager, get higher pay, better benefits, and you're there still till you retire. A calling is something that you do because you have a purpose. You have a reason that you're doing it. It's not for the paycheck, and it's not for recognition in your job, not for advancements. And there's a huge difference in that. And what I want you guys to take away from me is, as you're looking at your business, so I teach my new coaches to work 2 hours a day. If they want to make this a full-time job, 2 hours a day, 2 years, you have a full-time income, even that could replace the income of both you and your spouse. If you do it every day with this calling attitude versus a job or a career attitude. And I want you guys to know that your success in Beachbody is not determined by what rank you are, how many Success Club points you have, your income. Like Gabby mentioned those things about being in the top 10, never missing Success Club 10. That's not what means I'm successful. That is a result of me being what I call a successful coach every single day. The rank, the income, all that just follows as a result of doing the 3 vital behaviors and treating it like my calling versus like a task of doing a job or perhaps a career. And the difference is, if you look at, I'm going to briefly say this. One of my first jobs is I cleaned the elementary school. So after the kids got out of elementary school, I cleaned it for like 2 or 3 hours every single day. I vacuumed, took out the garbages, everything. So if I want to show you this so you can relate it to your Beachbody business. If it's a job, if I treat that like a job, which I did back then because I didn't know any better, I was a teenager, you get paid for doing the task. And the attitude that you go there is like, oh my gosh, I got to clean up after all these dirty kids. They're germs. They throw paper all over. There's gum on the chairs. I got to go do this again today. And then Sunday comes around, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go clean the school afterwards. I got to go to this job. The difference in becoming successful from somebody that could spin their wheels for 2 years or 3 years in Beachbody and not become really successful is looking at you could do the daily, my daily 10 things you should do every day, 2 hours a day at this business. And if you do it like a job, people are going to sense that you do not enjoy what you do, that maybe you're frustrated. And it's because you don't have a sense of purpose of why you're doing it, like treating it like a calling. And treating it like a calling, if I go back to that school analogy, is that person is going to have way more a way better experience at their job or their calling of cleaning that school if they go in with one simple different thing. It's a change of the mind. It's the way that you look at your job. Instead of saying, oh, I got to go clean up this mess, it's filthy, like kid germs, ooh. And if they change that to like, I have a very important thing to do today. It's my job to make sure that these kids are the future of America, have a clean environment so that they can live healthy and be, clean and healthy at school to learn and become great citizens. Now, if I go clean the school with that mentality, I'm much more fulfilled with what I'm doing. So that's the difference of a job and having it as a calling, is just your mindset and going in through with the activity that you're doing. So to relate that back to Beachbody and to leave you guys with that is, like I said, your success is not determined by your rank, your income, or any of that, because you're going to have lots of ups and downs. You're going to have times when people may return a product, or one of your coaches or two of your coaches or three of your coaches quit on you or quit on themselves, right? There's all these things that could happen. And if you determine your success on these things, you're going to feel like a failure every single day. I get 20 to 30 no's every day, or no, it's not for me. I'm not interested right now. No, thank you. No, thanks. That's cool. You're doing that or whatever, but it's not for me. I get that all day long. So if I determined my success on that, what people do, and not having a purpose or a calling, but just on that result, then I would be a failure every single day. And I would go to work the next day like, oh, I wonder how many of these no's I'm going to get again. I bet I'm going to get rejected. And the mentality that you'll see when you work like that is, you're like, I'm a failure. My business isn't going good. I don't know what's wrong with me. And those thoughts are brewing in your mind, and you are what you think. You become what you think about. You attract in what you focus on. So you need to focus on your purpose, your core purpose, your calling as a Beachbody coach every single day. And when you do that, this is how you become a successful coach, and you just do it consistently for the next 2 years. You have a list of things that you do, which are the 3 vital behaviors. And you can see my list. They can share it with you just, after this call. But you become successful by doing what you say you're going to do with the right mindset. Like, what your calling is. Write out a mission statement, a purpose for your life of what you are as a coach. And then do your list every single day and add value to people. And just realize that every conversation you have is just a seed being planted. And when you do that, that is what success is. Success is being consistent in your daily activity, doing what you say you're going to do, and planting seeds of growth in other people. So every no, one thing I do, I'm going to teach you guys right now, every no I get, every not right now, I send them a YouTube video, a 5 to 20 minute YouTube video that's impacted my life. And I let them know, hey, I understand you wanted help with getting in shape. And, for some reason, you're not telling me what it is right now on why you're not wanting to do this. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to be here for you when you're ready. But for now, I want to share with you something that I learned just the other day during my workout. Here you go. And I send them, I add value to them in some way. So I've been doing that for 3 years, day in and day out. And it plants seeds, and you help people no matter what. And I believe fully that if you set goals, you work hard, trust in God, have faith in God, you are an amazing person. And He will help you live out your potential when you trust in Him and you add value to people and not compare yourself to anybody else. So that's a short message I want to leave with you guys today. But the one last thing I wanted to say, touching back to close out on what Jayson said and what Gabby said, is that spouse support is 100% necessary. 100% necessary. There were times in my first year where I wanted to quit. Gabby mentioned that, and she got tears in her eyes, and I did as well back here behind her, because it brought me back to that point, thinking about that and pondering on it. And I remember specifically, I just told her, hey, I was just trying to learn, and it was overwhelming and getting lots of no's in the beginning. And I just told her, I was like, do you believe that I can do this? Do you believe that this Beachbody thing works? Because the only success I'd really seen is top coach Josh Spencer and Lindsay Matway. That's all I knew as far as Beachbody coaches outside of myself. And I said, does this work? Do you believe this works? And she said, I don't know about that, but I believe in you. And that was the biggest thing that that helped me to stay with it. And I decided that day, I remember I printed out a picture of my daughter, Kina. She's in here right now chuckling, but I printed out a picture of her. She was 5 years old, and I helped her draw a heart that said, "Don't give up, Daddy." And we drew that on a heart, and she held it out, and I took a picture of her, and it became my screensaver. And that's just knowing that my wife, Gabby, believed in me and that my kids were counting on me to make this happen. That's what made me make those sacrifices and show up every single day. So I believe it's so important that you support, that the spouses that are on here, that you support them, because if this works for a guy like me, it works for anybody. And Brigida, and Jayson, they're from our town as well. And we're a small town. And we're 2 of the top 10 coaches in the company from the same small town. So it doesn't matter where you live, where you come from, who you grew up as. All that matters is, are you willing to believe in yourself and follow what your coach is teaching you, the simple steps that they're going to teach you. I want you guys to know that I believe in you guys, that you guys can do this, and that you're worth it. And just like Jayson said, the life changes that have happened. We've read over 100 books since we've started. And the knowledge alone that I've gained from that, and the people I've met through Beachbody, I could do anything I want with my life now with the knowledge I've gotten from all these books, this personal development, going to seminars, listening to calls like this from people who have, created 6-figure, 7-figure businesses with Team Beachbody. And so I want you guys to know, once again, I believe in you guys, and that is all I have to share with you guys tonight. So thanks for letting me speak for just a few minutes at the end here.
Thank you so much, Gabby and Scotty. And before I close out the call, just with a few of my big takeaways, because I ran the gamut of emotions on this call, and I know the team has as well. I want them to just be able to take advantage of you guys so nicely saying that you would answer a few questions at the end. So right now we're going to open it up real quickly just for some brief question and answers. We will take 3, and then I will close out the call. So Emma, if you want to unmute everyone, we can take the first 3 questions for Jayson, Gabby, or Scotty. Okay, good. This is Emma Wavy, and thank you, Scotty, Gabby, and Jayson for being on. And I agree with Chelsea. I was in tears. It's exactly what our team needed to hear. Is just how do you make this work, not just as a spouse, but as a family, or make it work for the people that are the most important to you in your life, because it does take sacrifice. I appreciate you taking time out of your family tonight to share this with us. And so I think it's ironic, though, that Scotty and Brigida, so the Linford, the Hobbs, Chelsea is from Idaho, and I'm from Idaho, so Idaho has something going on. But anyway, Chelsea, go ahead and open it up to the floor. Okay, who wants to ask a question? We'll take 3. Chelsea, this is Bryn. Hi, Bryn. Hi. My question is for Scotty. You talked about your line changing constantly. So as I'm sitting here listening to the call, I'm looking at my vision board that I have not changed since maybe 1st of December. Do you change your vision board throughout the year, and how often do you change it?
So my vision board, and we kind of talk about it in our team page, you see them come up. It's actually right. This past month, everybody's been redoing them since Summit came about, and everybody kind of got fired up and excited. I believe at least just once a year, that you should be changing your goals, your vision, what you're going to be focusing on. I know ours always continue, like I said, first bringing Gabby home, then it was me. Then the next big thing that I was envisioning daily was paying off our mortgage, and knowing, I would sit in my hot tub for 15 minutes every morning thinking about, like, imagining that was already paid off, and I was doing all that weird stuff, like talking to myself, like, oh, this is so cool that this weird Beachbody thing has helped us pay off our home and we have no debt. And I was just talking like that before it ever happened, and then that happened. And then the next thing was, moving on to the next one, which is working on retiring Gabby's parents and my parents. So that's the next big thing on our vision boards that we're visualizing and thinking about as we're building the business every day, like why we're doing this so strongly. So I believe you should always change it. And for those on here that maybe don't have a vision board yet or don't know what their why is, your why is got to be something so powerful that it makes you cry. It makes you cry, whether it's because it's something that's so great in the future that you're going to achieve that it just tears of happiness, or it's got to be something that you're going through right now that's so painful that you are going to work so hard to get out of that pain. Like my first one was all pain-based, and now it's pleasure-based. Like, how is it going to feel to retire our parents? How is it going to feel to retire from the job? You know, and in the beginning, it was this is painful, working 12 hours a day with my wife at work, 8 hours a night, and our kids are at a babysitter for a couple hours a day. This is painful. I'm not supposed to raise my family like this. A husband and spouse are supposed to be home together, at least in the evenings. So I created, even in my mind, even though I was accustomed to that for the past 5 years, I helped create and intensify that pain by thinking about, what that felt like and what it would feel like to not have that anymore. So you should always, have that. And if you don't know what yours is yet, a good way to tell is if you lay down at night and there's something that you think about that bothers you, most likely that's going to be part of your why, like helping identify it. Something that you're scared of, whether it's being able to retire someday, whether it's wondering how you're going to pay for weddings for your kids when the days come, whether it's going to be, are you going to be able to pay for the groceries? There's so many different things. Like whatever you worry about when you lay down to sleep is most likely the starting seeds to help develop your full why.
All right, thank you. That's awesome tip, Scotty. And I've never thought of it that way when you start out having to be pain-based and moving it to pleasure-based. And that is an amazing analogy, actually. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, if there's no other questions, I just want to close up the call, and I want to thank everyone again. I think that this call, it came through that the commonality with all of these spouses and with Scotty is they had an unwavering faith in their partners, and faith and belief in each other and their dreams has made them accomplish amazing things, not only for themselves, but for a huge team of coaches that aren't on their teams. They're giving their time to our team tonight just out of the kindness of their heart and what their fundamental foundations and beliefs in Beachbody are. And I'm so honored that they got on the call and took time out of their lives and their family's lives to share with us what has made their dreams and their passions come true. So thank you so, so much for giving us your time tonight, Scotty and Jayson and Gabby. I really appreciate it. And this recording will be available tomorrow in our coaching online office in our groups. So thank you so much, you guys.